It's my distinct privilege and honor to introduce to you my friend, the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland, the former National Chair of the Republican Party, Michael Steele.
Thank you. See you guys. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome, baby.
Very, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. It's a real blessing to be back and to be here and to be a part of this evening with all of you to celebrate business, to celebrate leadership, and to celebrate this chamber's work that is so important, not just to the city, but to the state, because these times require bold moves, big thinkers, but most importantly, individuals who are not afraid. There's a lot of fear in the town that I grew up in called Washington, D.C. And we look to the leaders like yourselves to try to make a difference and to try to bring a little calm and sanity to it all. So I'm really pleased to be here, and I certainly want to congratulate Sabrina on her new role. It's an important role in an important time. And I suspect you will do the job very well because you have the confidence and the support of the members of this chamber. Don't screw it up because they will turn on you. Trust me on that one. Trust me on that one. But certainly to John and Maurice and past leaders of this organization, thank you as well. Show Sabrina and continue to provide to her the support that she will need in order to be an effective leader and a good leader to achieve the goal of one city, one chamber, one team. And that's an important, as she finished it and leaned over, I said, that's a solid message. That's a good message. It's a powerful message in these times. And please, all of you, honor it. All of you honor it. Because unless you've really had to sit down and do that vision thing and then turn around and do that organization thing and then turn around and do that implementation thing and then turn around and go to the body and say, let's do this thing together, unless you've done that, you can't begin to appreciate what those words mean. And as businessmen and women, I'm assuming and presuming you have done that in some form with your own staffs, your own offices. So please honor her leadership by honoring that goal together. One city, one chamber, one team. Certainly, I also want to acknowledge the councilwoman. It's good to see you again. I told her when I saw Councilwoman Holden, I said, "You're looking good, girl. They haven't beat you up too badly yet. They have not wore you down. This is good. Wear well, sister, because the people of the city need you, and the people of this county need you, and the state leadership, from my perspective, bubbles up. And it's not localized. It spreads. You become an example for others. You become an opportunity for the people who have empowered you through their vote. And I really appreciate what you're doing because it's a risk. It's a challenge. But I wish you well. Don't screw that up either. I wanted to very quickly, because I would like to get to a point where I can get some questions. I know some folks probably have some questions. And I was warned, well, you know, people could ask some pretty interesting questions. I'm like, yeah, they can. I like that part of it. So I want to set up a theme in the conversation and then open it up and get your thoughts on a few things just to see where we go. The interesting thing about what I've been through since I was lieutenant governor of this great state and having a chance to really take the raw material of policy and government and putting it to work on behalf of people is you learn a lot. And in the job as Lieutenant Governor, I have learned quite a bit. And certainly in the last 2 years, I have learned more than I could care to think about in terms of people and responsibilities and friends. But the one thing that I take away from this, and I want to share it with you because I think it will be helpful to you in all that you do, particularly in these times, is that you can't please everyone, but you can certainly tick them all off at the same time. And Lord knows I've become expert at ticking off a lot of people at one time. But I did so because I needed to achieve a goal. And the goal that I had set before me and that I had set before others was to turn the elephant, was to make a moribund, backward-looking party recognize that it was moving in a direction away from people and pointed in a direction towards people, to begin to have a conversation that we had given up on many, many years ago. Winning has this sort of numbing, dulling effect in political life. And I know those who are in government, those who are elected, and those who aspire to office have a sense of that from time to time. And certainly in business, you've run into that environment where people become comfortable and they accept the status quo too readily. And the new ideas and the innovations and the challenges that you must meet and embrace are kind of, oh yeah, well, but we've always done it this way. Well, that's not what this chamber needs to be about. That's not what leadership, political or otherwise, needs to be about. It should always be about pushing the envelope. And right now all across America, and especially here in a state like Maryland, businesses big and small are making lives better, or at least attempting to every day. Pushing the envelope, taking risks, grabbing opportunities through job creation, reconnecting communities, revitalization of neighborhoods. I know that's the objective of our mayor here in the city. I know that's the objective of my new county executive in Prince George's County. I know that's the objective of the leaders who are now convened in Annapolis. But a funny thing happens on the way to implementing and executing. And that's where your voice in this chamber is important. To maintain that focus and that discipline on what is needed in this community right here, right now. In these times, in this hour, not 20 years from now, but right now. Keeping leadership honest. That's why I said to you, you honor your new president by not just focusing on what her objective is and what her theme, her theory, her idea, whatever you want to call it is, but you also honor her by keeping her honest and sharing your voice in helping her guide and lead this organization. Leadership can be lonely, but you don't have to be alone. And you look around to find people who gravitate towards your ideas, your aspiration, and your goals, and who can help you make good things happen. When I came into the office as Lieutenant Governor, I remember sitting down with my then Chief of Staff, David Byrd, who I'm very honored and very happy to see. Again, it's been a long time. David got me through that first year of topsy-turvy, crazy, okay, what do I do now, deer in the headlights, because he had worked in the Whitman administration in New Jersey, and we had the privilege of bringing him here to Maryland to help us in this transition. And I remember talking with him on numerous occasions about how we make this thing work and how we make it relevant. Because I'm a bottom-up guy. I'm always closest to where the people are. I always feel better when I'm in a room full of people who are struggling and pushing and pulling. Right, Carla? All together. And sometimes not in the same direction. And then you come into this mammoth organization, this $30 billion behemoth called state government, with 80,000+ employees and 5 million+ citizens who are counting on you to get it right. And I remember standing on the steps of the Capitol on the day I was inaugurated, holding my hand on the Bible and taking that oath of office and realizing in that moment, I'm not a Republican anymore. I'm lieutenant governor. And there's a difference. There's a difference. Because public service and leadership in any organization is not about the title you have when you come in. It's not about the role that you played before you got here. It's about what the institution requires of you in the moment. So I wasn't the lieutenant governor just for Republicans or independents or Democrats. And Lord knows that probably would have confused a few Democrats if I was the lieutenant governor just for them. But the reality was I was the lieutenant governor of the state, of the people. And what we're missing right now in Washington, and I think even here at home, is leadership that understands that. That at some point, the partisanship has to stop. Because families are hurting and businesses are suffering. You all know what that's like every day. When you open up the doors, turn on the lights, you don't want to have to deal with stuff that doesn't advance your business goals and objectives. You want to deal with the people and the opportunities that come through that door that will allow you to do a number of things. One, empower people. Job, a product, the opportunity to expand your business in a neighborhood that's been virtually shut down for a generation. That's where this chamber comes in. That's where your voice comes in. That's your leadership requirement, to be there and to be a part of making good things happen in the community and putting at the edge the noise, the distractions, the craziness. I mean, we can all be partisan. We can all jump up and down and talk blue, talk red. But when you see a neighborhood that has lost its businesses, when you see an individual who's lost their job, how does that make you feel? And what does it make you want to do? That's what this chamber is about. That's what it should be about. And that's what leadership needs to be about, particularly those who govern us and have to deal with the ups and downs of our economy. It's the small business, the ones whose employees and owners are hustling every day, virtually in a cold sweat, trying to keep their doors open, trying to make good things happen, trying to turn around the economy here in Baltimore, the economy in Maryland, the economy of our country. And then you realize that as you struggle and make things go as hard and as fast as you can, that there's still this sort of gap that emerges, this wealth gap, your inability to close that gap or to keep pace with those with whom you're in the race. And if you're a minority business especially, you find yourself a half step behind, a day late, $7 short. Inflation. Trying to make it happen. Researchers recently tracked the accumulation of wealth between black families who actually started out wealthier than their white counterparts. In the study, white families built wealth over the last few decades, while black families lost that wealth. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe they started out economically disadvantaged or weaker. Maybe they had less in the bank. Maybe there was no inheritance. But the study emphasized the point that as widespread as the economic pressures are on all businesses and families, there are certain groups, certain industries, and certain geographic regions which are even more at risk. They could be wiped out for generations if things don't change. This is what the small business means to our community. Not just the broad community, but most especially the African American community. To be that point of the spear, to be that opportunity, to work in a way in which we embrace new ideas, yes, but then we work like heck to execute and to implement those new ideas, to bring to the table and to lift up those who need the most help. You employ. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give an individual. It's that opportunity to work. You know what that meant the first time you had your job, the first time you put your name on the door, the first time that dollar bill came in and you didn't have to give it to the government. You could actually keep that one. You know what that meant. You know what that felt like. The point is, no matter your color, your industry, or your location, small businesses are more vulnerable because they are small. And yet 99% of America's employers are small businesses. We like to talk about the big guys on Wall Street, but it is Main Street, baby, that makes it happen every day. Every day. And in fact, there is only a Wall Street because there was Main Street first. That's the power of what you represent. And that's the opportunity of what chambers like yours have and mean for a lot of folks out there. And that's why this economic climate, we see private sector job creators in this country basically curled up in a fetal position right now, hesitant to move forward, hesitant to take the risks. And this is why. The top marginal income tax rate, I don't know how many of you know this, next January increases to 39.6% from 35%. Top dividend tax rate increases to 39.6% from 15%. So if any of you are getting dividends, Uncle Sam's going to get his too. Top capital gains tax rate increases to 20% from 15%. Reinstatement of PEAS, which is the itemized deduction phase out, which is going to be equivalent to a 1.2% marginal rate increase. So you put that on top of that 39.6. An additional 0.9% Medicare tax for higher income taxpayers added to current employer and employee Medicare to the current tax of 2.9%. An additional 3.8% Medicare tax on investment income of higher income taxpayers, including dividends, capital gains, annuities, royalties, and rents. And reinstatement of estate tax with a $1 million exemption and 55% top rate. Next January is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of business owners out there and a lot of individuals. And here in Maryland, the administration is right now proposing and planning to push to the legislature an income tax, a sales tax, a gas tax, a water and sewer tax, and an offshore wind development program that is designed to increase Marylanders' electric rates. Now, I know we got to pay bills, but it's hard to pay a bill when you don't have the money. And so there's got to be a balancing. We've got to figure out what that line is between the money we get from consumers and taxpayers and the money that we put back into the system for the things that we need. And that's the debate. and it's a legitimate debate. But what concerns me is how businesses are viewed within the debate and how they will be treated when they come out of the debate. And that's an important question for you to get an answer to. And it's not just the federal level, it's here. Because you feel it here at the local level first. And so the next year, and certainly over the next 3 months, you're going to have an opportunity to raise your voice and to express with, I hope, a high degree of clarity what it is you need in order for businesses to thrive and succeed in this state. And use that as a model for others around the country. I just don't accept the fact that, I got to take more in order to do more. How about we look at what we're doing and maybe fix that first and refigure it and design it a little different before we go and grab more? But that's not the inclination. The inclination is, well, the bill is now this, so I need to get more from you to pay the bill. Well, okay, can we look at why the bill is that high to begin with? All right? And then if I need to put more in, I'm there. But at least let's take that look. And that's what the people of this country have been saying for the last year. Whether it's Tea Party, whether it's Occupy Wall Street, no matter. The people of this country have been raising their voices, and they've been making very clear they do not like the way things are going. They do not like the intrusion of big government, big business, on the things that they do that they value in such a way that they feel that they are devalued. And they're getting less. And that's a national conversation that's an important one because it is the difference particularly between how you see the role of government, how you see the role of business. And my only point is I don't really care where you land on that argument. I really don't, because that's your thing. But you've got to be a part of the argument. You've got to be a part of the conversation. If you want to sit back and accept whatever the outcome is, then you've just lost any room to complain later, in my view. But if you pick up your pitchfork now and grab your torch now and make your noise now, you'll be surprised what you can change now. And that as businesses and as a chamber, you can and should and will make a difference here in Maryland and working with the national chamber nationally. And that's all good. That's all good. So I hope as you begin this new year and you begin these new opportunities with new leadership, that you take advantage of this opportunity here to make a difference for yourselves, for the new members you're going to recruit to be a part of this, because again, as the chair could tell you, the reality of it is when people are scared, when people are afraid, they contract, they shy away, they don't want to be involved. Be a light, as has been mentioned already this evening. Be a light and help other businesses. Give them the incentive. Show them that there's a team that's willing to work with them and be a part of what they're trying to do. Those of you who are here this evening, you've probably known each other a long time and many years, but that doesn't mean you stop networking. That doesn't mean you don't share with each other what it is you're doing. Because this individual over here may be able to help you in what you're planning to do tomorrow. That's what's so important about what it is you're doing. Creating those networks, creating those opportunities, and executing on them. So I wish you well, I really do. I'm excited about it. I'm also a little bit afraid for you. A friend of mine asked me about gold futures and whether or not, anyone should invest in gold. And I said, well, absolutely. And he said, well, he's a Wall Street guy and he's a big money manager. And he was like, well, I'm kind of advising my clients that, gold is starting to come down and, it's probably not, it's going to hit those numbers. I said, wait a minute, hold up. You know what gold is, don't you? And he was like, yeah. It's a hedge against inflation. I said, no, 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 no. Gold is a hedge against idiots, against people who get it wrong consistently, where you lose faith and you lose trust, where your concerns and your fears outstrip your confidence. And he kind of looked at me and he said, that's interesting. I said, well, trust me, because when you look at what's going on right now in state governments and in Washington, you can't help but think someone not too bright if you can't get a budget passed, if you can't figure out how to pay the bills, and the only thing you can resort to is to argue and finger point and name call and blame. So buy gold. You are that hedge against the idiots. You're on the front lines of making sure that the fight is done right and that there's success at the other end of it. You're the hedge. You're the difference. I hope you appreciate that, and that you just don't walk through this year. You don't just let it happen. That as a chamber, your voice is a part of the conversation. That as individual businesses, your voice are pushing the conversation. Because if you don't, and if you're not, trust me, this time next year, you will not be that happy. For whatever reasons, because you will have basically sidelined yourselves. And that's not what I know your new leader is expecting. And I don't think that's what the people of the city are expecting. And I hope that's not what you want. So I wish you all the very best. I wish you all much success. And I hope that when it's all said and done, you look back over the year when it's completed and you can say with a great deal of confidence, we did our best, we did it well, we grew, we strengthened this community, we empowered its businesses, we have friends in the administration who understand what we're about now. We did our job. And the councilwoman can keep that smile on her face. And the mayor can be proud because she's looking around and seeing businesses grow in neighborhoods that haven't seen a business in forever. That's what you represent to Baltimore and Maryland. And I thank you for it. God bless you all. And if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to take a few. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wondered, what do you think of the mayor's plan to increase the population of the city and by I think it's a factor of 10,000 people, and first as a goal, and then what methods do you think she should adopt if that's to happen, and if you support that?
Well, I know that. Thank you. First off, cities like Baltimore have been hemorrhaging people, businesses, for some time. This is not a recent phenomenon. Some of it can be due to demographic changes. Others of it can be done to specific, attributed to specific policies. I applaud any effort, first off, to bring people back to the city. I look at my hometown, Washington, D.C., and neighborhoods that I grew up in and near have changed dramatically because of a concentrated effort to focus businesses in a particular part of the city, whether it meant building a stadium and watching progress come from there, or getting together with the chamber and putting together a consortium of businesses who would go in and invest in that community. I don't know the specifics of the mayor's plan, but I certainly would applaud, those efforts, because that's tax revenue, that's community pride, that's a whole lot of things that go beyond money, quite frankly, that is important for a city like Baltimore. I mean, and keep in mind, this is a historic city. This is not just another city in America. And so, it has gone through certainly a lot of changes, and I could, give you a laundry list of concerns and even gripes that I have going back to my days as lieutenant governor about some of the things that have been ignored here in the past. But you have a mayor who's got a fresh look and is looking to take a fresh approach. And I think this is a grand opportunity through her minority business office, working with the state's MBE programs, and certainly and most importantly, working with the individual businesses to create this new environment for the city and for the people of the city. I believe very firmly in an investment strategy. And when I was lieutenant governor, I remember having a conversation after visiting a number of schools here and elsewhere around the city, around the state, as well as talking with boards of trades, chambers, and the like. And it dawned on me, okay, why you're talking twin pillars here, education and business. And why can't we find that way in which we can make a joint investment in both? Where the business community recognizing that it has a significant interest in that kindergartner. Why would you have a significant interest in a kindergartner? 5-year-old kid. Because in 13 years, they're going to knock on your door looking for a job, if not before then. But if they're not prepared to do what it is you do or you need done, guess what? You can't hire. You can't expand. And as a business owner, you have one of two choices. You go out of business or you move. You move to where there's a workforce that can do what it is you need done. And I applaud the mayor for recognizing that. There comes a point where you just can't watch the businesses leave and do nothing. And so any effort that brings and incentivizes those businesses to stay here and to expand here, I think is a positive thing. Now, the test and the challenge is how you work with her and you work with the team to make it happen, and that you are at the table. This cannot be just a top-down, from the mayor's office, we're going to do this, and there's no input, because that won't work. Because again, a business owner, you can tell me what you want me to do, but and unless you are buying my product in bulk, or you got me one big government contract, I don't have the incentives. So that's part one. Part two, on the educational side, our schools are in dire need of resources in order to advance the cause of those kids, period. It ain't about the unions. It's not about the administrators. It's not about any of that. It is about the child in that classroom who for 6, 7, 8 hours a day is trying to learn something. And every ounce of energy and material and focus should be on that. And I think a partnership between business and the school system to focus on that child, to get computers. And I've tried this argument before where everybody's, we can't because if you give to this school, then that school. Look, if you've got a school in trouble and you've got local businesses that want to invest in buying 7 computers or 10 computers for the computer lab where there's only one, daggone it, let them buy the computers. It's not going to break anybody's bank. It's not going to upset the apple cart. The universe, quite frankly, would probably be a little bit better off because those kids now will have an opportunity to do what other kids in the system are doing and taking for granted because they have that resource. Those are the kinds of things that this type of initiative can lead to in a city like Baltimore, where it's so critically important for these kids to get that opportunity. And I've seen it firsthand. seen it firsthand. I'm not just talking without knowledge here. So I think it's a good idea. Now let's see what they do with it. Yes, sir.
Two questions. First of all, the Obama administration is looking at consolidating several government agencies. Yes. The Interstate Commerce Commission being one, and I believe the Small Business Administration being the other. You know, with the overall goal of saving money. Yep. What are your views on that? What do you see as the pros associated with it? But the second thing, what are the disadvantages for small businesses? Because now you have a larger bureaucracy that they have to approach in order to get the resources they need to expand their businesses.
That's a fair point, and I think to the first question about the approach that the Obama administration is taking in this regard, I think it's a good one. I don't have a problem with that. You're looking at creating synergies or taking advantage of certain synergies. You're looking at the Department of Commerce as the hub, as the centerpiece, and into that you're going to fold several other government agencies. That makes sense, that deal with finance, that deal with business, that deal with money. That makes sense. Now, your second point is the critical point, which actually should be the underlying question, is what does this look like when you are done, and where do I, as a small business owner who've already had enough headaches dealing with the current bureaucracy, where do I fit into this process, and will this bureaucratic process turn into a greater nightmare and headache for me? In other words, you make it harder for me to do business. I don't know offhand what steps the administration is taking in terms of finding individuals or, more importantly, connecting with business owners to facilitate this transformation. I would hope that they are listening to their SBA team, for example, and looking at the programs, particularly the ones that may be duplicative across the various agencies that they're consolidating, but in the process also not losing those programs that are essential to helping a small business owner get on that stage, that platform, and begin to do what they need to do, you know, relative to other businesses so that they can grow. Small businesses generally, they like the idea of, okay, this road is going to get me from here to there. But the reality of it is, if there are roadblocks there, if there's difficult travels, then I need a friend to help me clear that up. I don't know if we have a friend here that's looking to clear that up, or if we're just creating a greater bureaucracy. The administration seems to have a good intent on this front, and I applaud them for the idea of sort of consolidating these efforts. I wouldn't want some of the work, particularly for SBA and a few of the other agencies, to get lost, because it's been critical to helping small businesses maintain or to get onto that platform. So we'll see. I mean, this is all fairly, it's about a week or so old, so we don't really know. It's not been fleshed out too much yet. I'll take one more and then I can finish up. Yep.
I have a follow-up question.
Follow-up question.
My question is, what, besides your voice and that of General Colin Powell, where are the other compassionate conservative voices in the Republican Party?
When I was chairman.
We love you.
Right. When I was chairman, that was a loaded question. But now I'm free.
That's right. Let it rip. Turn off the cameras.
Yeah. YouTube. They're there. They are there. And, you know, there are a couple of aspects of that I find a little bit disturbing. One is that those voices oftentimes are shouted down or not given the same stage as the louder voices that tend to make the noise in the news. But they are there. They're there in you know, folks who have been on the front lines and have worked diligently and you know, very quietly trying to build a connection and a relationship. I happen to have a platform in which I can, you know, day to day and from time to time kind of plant a flag and make a noise. But it really is and has been the work of a lot of folks who on the ground are in neighborhoods and in communities that don't get the kind of play. The difficulty for them is that when something happens, so for example, you've in the recent weeks had certain Republicans talking about our community in a way that I have found to be stupid. And that's being polite. And I take away, and I said this recently, and I'll share it with you here, it amazes me, and I'm still trying to figure out what it is, that when we have a conversation about drugs, crime, poor education, welfare, why do we always jump to black first? It's a stereotype that I think has done more damage and more harm that we perpetuate, sometimes unwittingly, that I find to be very disturbing. And when I was chairman, I wanted to make it very clear that that crap was over. That as an African American, that's what I am first. I wake up in the morning, I don't see a Republican, I see a black man. I don't see a Catholic, I see a black man. I was black before I was Catholic and before I was Republican. And so that, for me, that's the start of the narrative for me. Not a lot of people appreciated that. But it is a reality that a lot of black Republicans in particular have to deal with. Right, my friend? And Victor said, no, they're very quiet. Don't call me out, man. I fought that war. Don't call me out. No, Lord have mercy, don't call me out. He's like, what? Who, me? What? Oh, what are you talking about? But it's a question that we have to ask too, because it's not just on the GOP, it's the way the political parties view us as a community. And I think that, and this goes to the point I was trying to make tonight about what you do with the organization you have, what you do with the voice that you have makes a difference. And so what I've tried to do in this particular case is very quietly, I'm not in the business of calling people out unless you need to call them out, but to very quietly say, look, can we change the tenor of this conversation? Instead of painting over the rock, can you get rid of the damn rock? Okay? Instead of, talking about, I'm going to go to the NAACP and tell. No, you're going to go to the NAACP and listen. That is the difference between welcoming people and inviting people to be a part of what we believe is a good political party with ideas and principles that they may appeal to you, but we're not appealing. And so that conversation has gotten a little bit warped because of a misinterpretation, a misrepresentation, or just outright ignorance. You need to appreciate that when you say certain things a certain way, you know what you mean to say. I can only tell you what you said and how it registered to me. And in that moment, you tell me what you're about when you shut up and listen and pay attention to what I just said. And Republicans need to do more of that. And I think it's an important lesson to be learned. My concern is, as this campaign gets heated up, that just all kinds of crazy stuff starts to happen. And we saw it in 2008 in the campaign with the Clintons and Obamas in South Carolina. Always something about South Carolina. I don't know what it is, but that's where Bill Clinton had his hiccup. And so it's one of those things that you got to be careful of, and certainly Republicans, I think, need to pay a little bit more attention to, because you can't just assume, well, you know, they're conservative like us, so why don't they join us? Well, have you bothered to ask? Have you bothered to come to their chamber meetings? Have you bothered to network with their small businesses? Have you bothered to go into their neighborhoods and their schools and have a conversation? Or have you just kind of stood on the sidelines saying, well, you're conservative like me, you should be standing here with me? It's not enough to say Barack Obama's policies are bad. That's just, people aren't there right now. You gotta show more about what you're about. Barack Obama will take care of himself. Our nominee, our party, my party, has to be focused on that individual relationship in a way that is powerful, quite frankly. And we haven't gotten there yet. But I keep trying. And I appreciate that. You're about 2 people now. So the brother's not totally alone. But it's good. It's good. So, but I thank you all again so much, and I wish you all the best this year.
Stay right there. Don't go anywhere.
There you go.
Let's hear it for the Lieutenant Governor. I'd like to bring to the podium now Mr. Ken Grant. Come on, Ken. We're going to talk to you, too. Ken called us and said, "Hey, let's
See, man.
let's move forward with the chamber, and let's move forward with Johns Hopkins here." And he is the underwriter of this event, and I'd like to present this to Ken. Title sponsor recognition to Johns Hopkins Medical Systems from our main man Ken Grant, Vice President of General Services.
Good stuff,
And,
Ken.
wait a minute now. I got a citadel for you, Bob.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Baltimore City Chamber of Commerce, don't go anywhere, Ken. Speaker, the Honorable Michael Stephen Steele at the annual meeting of the Baltimore City Chamber
nice.
of Commerce, January 18, 2012.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. That's special. Thank you.
Now that I'm out of awards. wait, I'm out of, come on. Out of awards, I would like our outgoing chairman to come up and for this photo op. And we'll go in front of the podium.
In front of the podium. There you go.
By the way, Joe, thanks for coming out. And, no, Joe's retiring. Let's give him a big hand. Joe's retiring.